Welcome to Women Unleashed. Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Women Unleashed. And on today's episode, I've got Ellie, who is a self-worth and heartbreak coach. So thank you so much for coming onto the podcast, Ellie.
You are welcome. It's a pleasure to be here.
So I wanted to chat to you about, what you do, kind of how you got into it. So tell us a little bit more about that.
So I'm a heartbreak and self-worth coach, and I got into it genuinely based on the relationships that I'd chosen. I'd had enough. I'd hit my lowest self-esteem after one particular relationship. And then during that time, I also had a life coach who was trying to steer me in the direction of what career I wanted to go down. And I kind of said to her, like, off the cuff, I'd love to do what you do. And she was like, well, do it then. And for me, I was like, you can't just do that. Who's going to listen to me? So then she sent me on like certain courses to go on. And she said, if you like it, just do it on the side. See where you go with it. So I did start out to do life coaching, mindset coaching. And then I niched down a couple of years ago into the heartbreak and self-worth, because that's where I felt like I made the most impact, and that's where I felt like I was feeling most fulfilled with helping women throughout that.
And I mean, a lot of women go through this. I mean, men as well. We all go through it. So it's a hot topic, especially more so now, I think. People are obviously realising the self-worth and going through heartbreaks and how to deal with it. So like you say, it's from experience, you've learned to kind of help people now. Absolutely.
And I think that's where, like, people will say to me, why should I come to you? And I think it's more so because I'm relatable. I don't try to be someone that I'm not, and I'm very open with sharing my stories as if it relates to what some of my clients are going through, because it's nice to see an end product and like to know that you can be feeling a certain way but actually come out the other side. So even during the time that I've been coaching, I've also had my heart broken. So that alone, it just reinstills to me the importance of it.
I bet that was really difficult, like going through it yourself and then obviously having to help others at the same time.
I tell you what, Dominica, that was like, when you're going through heartbreak anyway and you just don't want to get out of bed, but then you're listening to clients, and I felt exactly what they felt, but I didn't want to tell them at the time. It's not very professional. So that was the part of me that I was hiding, but at the same time just wanting to say to them, I feel exactly how you feel. I know that you don't want to get out of bed. But it just boosted me to want to heal through that. But what I did was I took note of every single day of how I felt and what I did differently, and so then I knew when I was helping clients what works, what doesn't, how I could implement it and what they should be doing.
I guess obviously you're giving them advice, but then because you're going through the same thing, it's like, well, I need to be doing this as well. You're kind of reinstalling it into yourself.
Absolutely. And then we always say, like, practice what you preach.
Yeah.
And I think that was literally a day in, day out of me having to practice what I preached. And some days where, I don't know, I was falling down that trap of checking social media, seeing if they're online on WhatsApp, waiting for that message to come through, and then having to like have a reality check with myself and say, well, you tell your clients to stop doing that, so stop doing it. Or figuring out a way for me that works to stop doing it, so then I can go, right, well, I know this works, so I can put that in place for my clients at the time that I'm going through it myself.
So what is the most common thing that you find amongst people? What do people come to you for mainly? Would you say it's heartbreak? Would you say it's self-worth?
I think mainly self-worth.
Okay,
because
I'm quite surprised at that, actually.
Look, heartbreak is one thing, and some people will feel that they can deal with heartbreak on their own, or feel like they've either distracted themselves enough that they're no longer feeling the pain. But ultimately, it's the heartbreak that leads to you having low self-esteem, or no, like it knocks your confidence so much that then you're like, I need an avenue, I need a way out of how I can stop myself from feeling like this. So yes, they do entwine, but I would actually say recently it's more about people that are struggling with feeling not good enough, feeling like they are always comparing themselves to everyone else around them and wondering why they haven't got the life that they want in terms of relationships, in terms of body, in terms of just the confidence that they see other people having. So I think, and ultimately it will all stem from some form of pain or hurt that they've been through in the past. So it's figuring out that part. But mainly at the moment, yeah, it seems to be that people are coming for me for self-worth.
And I mean, that does come from social media nowadays and the world that we live in. You know, we see other people and we think that their lives are amazing and that they're really, really happy when they're in reality, they might not be.
Yeah, like everybody on social media portrays their most perfect version of themselves and of their life. And yes, on mine, I will try to be as open and as honest with what's going on. But a lot of the time, it is to portray like, I have come this far. But some days I'll be having days where I am feeling low in myself or I'm not feeling my most confident. Do I put that on social media? I try, but I'm a minority in that. And my page is to help people. My personal page, I wouldn't put anything like that on it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very private. There's not much on there anyway. But I wouldn't be sitting there talking about, oh, I'm feeling really low in myself today. Why? I'd probably be putting on that I'm going to the beach.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, that's what most people do nowadays, where, like you say, the minority of us, like I do, I will talk about my feelings because people resonate and people like to know that they're not alone, that they're not going through it on their own, that other people are experiencing pain as well. So, I mean, going from that, would you say that most of your clients are female? Do you have male clients?
I do have male clients, but majority of my clients are female. And I think it's because we are more in touch with our emotions and wanting to better ourselves. I think for men, it's really difficult for them to admit to having low self-esteem or to not feeling confident in themselves. They have to portray this image of they've got this huge ego. Mm-hmm. Whereas women are now, and I think we're talking about it so much more now, that yeah, they're more open towards coming towards me. And to be honest, I target towards women because I can relate to them.
Yeah, for sure.
But I will say, the ones that fulfill me the most are male because they make the biggest change in the shortest period of time because they haven't ever spoken about what we talk about to anyone. Whereas with women, we are still all in our own head, but what if? And well, when I was speaking to this guy, he just ghosted me for this. Like, what's the reason? And they're always still trying to blame themselves, whereas a man will just openly say it and be more open to another viewpoint or a stand on it.
Yeah, I guess us as females, we dwell on things a lot more than what guys do, and guys are just more straight to the point. But it's kind of nice to see that males are starting to, work on themselves and kind of get that help and get that advice and not just be driven by their ego.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, when men do come to me, it's nice to have a female perspective because as much as my page is all about self-worth, self-love, heartbreak and all of those things, a lot of it comes down to relationships. So I think for men, when they come to me, it's nice to have that female perspective of if they are going out into the dating world or they are in a relationship, understanding their partner or their future partner from a female perspective helps them.
Yeah, for sure. And what do you think to people who get out of relationships and get straight into new ones?
Look, there is exceptions to the rule, and that is if you are coming out of a relationship and then you find someone that is treating you with the ultimate respect and treating you very differently to the reason that you left or your last relationship ended, then the very few exceptions to the rule, it's okay because you can heal ultimately that way through it. However, I would honestly say no. Like, you need to take the time to feel every single part of the emotions that come with a breakup. And the hardest part is the loneliness. So until you can fight through that feeling and come out the other side content in your own skin, you're always going to feel the need to fulfill yourself or validate yourself by somebody else. Now, you're never going to grow in confidence. You're never going to grow in your self-love and the way that you view yourself if you're constantly being validated by the fact that you are in a relationship or have attention from a male. So I just think, just go through the process. It's hard. It's the worst feeling in the world, but you heal a lot faster by going through that process because you're not bringing it into any future relationships and you're not bringing any pain to come through later on down the line. You've got through it and it's terrible and you're grieving and it feels like your world is ending. But on the other side of that world ending is honestly the most brightest future that you can see. So for me, I will always say, please don't do it. Just take some time for yourself. But there is that very few exception to the rule.
Yeah, of course. And I find that a lot of people nowadays do that. They will not even get into a new relationship, but just kind of get under someone to get over someone, you know, and then because they're trying to mask how they feel, and then the pain will come and catch up with them. Or if they do get into a new relationship, they're bringing that pain and that trauma onto the new person, and it's not going to work out again, and they just get into a vicious cycle with it.
Exactly. And the thing that happens is you bring in past patterns. So I have clients come to me to say that every single time they get into a relationship, the same thing happens time and time again. So then they start to blame themselves. And yes, everybody has their part to blame, their part to play in it. But at the same time, it's recognizing, okay, is this the people that you're choosing? Or is this behaviors that you are inflicting from past relationships, past insecurities, triggers, and all of those things, and bringing that into your next relationship? If it is that, you need to work on it. And you need to take the time out and stop just texting anyone because you just set yourself up for more hurt. And ultimately, it gets to the point of you label yourself as always being not good enough or always relationships not working out. When actually, if you just take the time to work on yourself, the people that you attract into your life after that, completely different.
Yeah, because you need to heal. You need to learn to be on your own, and you need to accept that you love yourself, who you are, and you don't, like you said, you don't need someone else to validate like how you feel and who you are effectively. So how soon would you say people should start dating?
That is really dependent on your breakup and how you're feeling at the time. I just think when you're starting to feel really content in your own skin again, you've got your life fulfilled in a way that works for you. Your routine is right. You're feeling good on a day-to-day basis. And it's not that you're going out hunting for a relationship or someone to date. It comes naturally to you and you go, I'm not sure if I'm 100% ready, but I'm feeling good. It's not going to set me back in any way if it doesn't work out.
Just to kind of get out there and trial it, see how you feel, see how you feel about being around other people, because you might think that you're ready and actually you might go on a date and think, wow, I'm really not ready for this.
Yeah, 100%. And I've actually done that myself, where I thought that I was in a good place and I genuinely was in a good place. And then I went on that date and it wasn't in comparison to an ex that I was with, and I was like, oh, actually, that set me back to wondering, am I ever going to find someone as good as him? That whole mentality.
But is that because you think maybe you weren't fully over him because you were comparing? Because that would be me. I would probably go on a date now after being not long out of a relationship and I'd be just comparing to my ex. And that's how I know that I'm not fully healed. Like, I'm on my way there, but I'm not fully healed.
That's the thing, and that's when you know it's too soon.
Yeah.
So then you can come away from that and go, do you know what? No, I've still got that bit of work to do on myself, and then I'll try again. But don't ever say, I'm never doing that again, or I'm not. When people say I'm being single for an entire year or 2 years, I'm like, how do you know that? Yeah. You don't know that.
Why are you putting like a cap on it? Like, how long are you going to be single? If someone comes into your life and all of a sudden sweeps you off your feet, you can be like, oh no, sorry, you'll have to wait a year because I'm not ready. And I said to myself, I'm going to wait a year.
And what if you don't meet someone within that year, at that year point, and then you're like, oh my goodness, am I going to be single forever? And you get yourself it's all in your head.
So say if a client comes to you and they're like 6 months down the line and they are still really missing their partner, their ex-partner, like what would you say to them? Because people probably think, is that normal? Should I still be missing them like this far down the line?
It comes to what you're missing from them. What part did they play what role did they play in your life that makes you miss them that much? Because 6 months down the line, you kind of will be over like that, crying yourself to sleep every night pain. And if you're not, then you've not worked on yourself. You've not tried to heal through the heartbreak. But 6 months down the line, it's more so there'll be a part of the role that they played in your life that they're missing, that you're missing. So,
or even potentially the future that you thought you'd have with them. Because a lot of the time when obviously we split up with our exes, we think, oh, well, I'm going to miss this. But actually, you miss what you thought you'd have with them.
and for women, we really, really, really have to work on not getting into the dating world, planning your future before you've been on date one for a start. I know we're all guilty of it, but it happens. But more so when it comes to the breakup, a woman has to grieve two things, and that is the person leaving, but also the future that you planned. And I say more so with women because men can kind of block that part out, whereas a woman, our priorities, if we look at the hierarchy of needs, is, and I'm gonna generalize here, so don't cancel me, but we value family so highly, so we are seeking a partner to have a family. So then when that is taken away from us, it's like one of our biggest values is then removed. Whereas a man will value, I don't know, his career or his power or that in the general sense, and that's where they can kind of, that family like goes down the levels for them, so they can kind of block that bit out. But we have to grieve two things.
No, 110%. I agree with that. And it's something that I've spoke about before where I've got out of a relationship. Yes, I'm really missing that person, but am I missing the future more? Like what I had planned, what we had planned, what I thought was going to happen? Because you have all this life as a female planned out. And that's why we need to stop planning, like end of. We need to stop planning because you never know what's around the corner.
Absolutely. And for me, like my last breakup, that was exactly that. We were at the point where we were about to move in together. And then it just got taken away from me like this.
From one day to the next.
Literally one day to the next. And so for me, like on reflection, yes, he was a lovely guy. I've got nothing bad to say about him. But on reflection, I think I was just so devastated by the fact that I had to find another future partner to move in the direction that I thought I'd finally found.
That's giving me goosebumps.
Yeah.
So true, though. It is so true, because you're like, oh, well, I'm going to have to look for that all over again and have to go through the whole process again. And it's like, it's a bit daunting, and you feel a
Completely.
bit... You have to meet new people again and get comfortable around someone and learn to trust someone all over again after you've got all these traumas and all these scars.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, like every other man that I like previous to me starting this and working on myself was just hell. Like honestly, hell on earth. So then when I met him, which was maybe a year and a half, 2 years into my healing, and then he was just so nice and like ticked a lot of boxes, but more so like the way that he treated me, I was like a queen.
Yeah.
So then the fact that I had to then go back into the dating world amongst all the other like men, the pool of men that I'm used to having, it was like, am I ever going to find someone like him? And I have, like, not in terms of I'm single still now, but along the way, like the people that I've dated since, my mindset has changed on who I choose. I choose values more than anything else that I used to go through for before.
And you change, and I guess that change doesn't only come from obviously growing up, but going through the life experiences of breakups, and you kind of learn what you do value as a person in someone else, and kind of how they make you feel and what you're willing to stand for.
But one thing I always work with my clients is figuring out your values. We just go into dating and go for the person that gives us the attention and can woo us in some way that makes you feel special without actually realising who they are to the core. So unless you know what your values are, how are you going to assess someone else's?
Exactly. And kind of going back to what you said about, settling and knowing kind of your worth and what you do want from someone. What if people think, oh, well, I can't find this, I'll just settle? Like, will that relationship ever work?
It could potentially work, yes, but would you ever be completely fulfilled? Like, happiness is one thing, but we can't always strive for happiness consistently in a relationship. But will you be fulfilled? Is all of your needs being met by someone that you are just settling for because you just want that attention? 90% of the time, no.
Do you think a lot of people settle?
All the time.
Yeah?
All the time. Because they don't understand what they want. They think they want a relationship. but what do they want from that relationship? What is the lifestyle that they want in the future? And until you understand that, you are always just going to go for someone that gives you attention. And to be honest, attention means one thing, or love is actually not enough. I always say that. You can love someone so dearly, but if they are not fulfilling your needs in terms of sexual desire, in terms of financial securities, or just security as a whole, in terms of do they make you feel like you can trust them? All of these, and there's so many more that you can add to that list, but people just go, but I love him or I love her. But why? Do you love the idea of the future that you have?
Yeah.
Or do you love the idea that you are in a relationship? Or do you love that person? And of course you can. But if they're not satisfying you in a lot of other ways, you're going to get bored. You've got to think lifetime. Like, I don't go into dating not thinking that I'm going to find the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with. So if you are going into that, or into a relationship not sure if you want to spend the rest of your life with them, why are you wasting your time?
I would say that's more of a guy thing, though, than a girl thing. I feel like guys, you know, they're a bit more casual than girls, and then we'll go into a relationship and just, they don't really care. They're like, oh, well, you know, we can have sex and that's it. Or we can just date for a bit. Whereas us as females, we go into those relationships, most females, not all, with intentions of having a family with that person or settling with that person, getting into a relationship.
Absolutely, we do. But again, it comes down to our hierarchy of needs.
Yeah.
And I think when men reach that point that they do want to settle, then they're a totally different man in the dating game. Yeah. But us as women, we do it from a young age, where I remember my first ever boyfriend, I was thinking at like 14, he's going to be my life partner. Like,
literally.
I can't believe it. And obviously that's not how it worked out.
Many heartbreaks later.
And I'm so glad, because I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. But yeah, like, imagine that was how things were. But that's at that age, as women, we are thinking that. Do you think my 14-year-old boyfriend was thinking he's going to be with me?
Oh no, he was in it for the fun.
He was in it for a kiss under the underpants.
Yeah, literally. Kiss, what are they called? Footsie under the table.
Exactly.
That sort of stuff. That's what they were there for. That's so true. So going back to kind of like your exes, and because I know a lot of people who'll be watching this will probably relate. When it comes to your ex, what do you think is the best way to get over them?
Number one is no contact.
That's another question that I had for you.
Okay. Number one is no contact, and it's the hardest thing to stick to, because you are so used to waking up to that good morning text, or knowing the ins and outs of their day.
Yeah.
So to take that away completely is like ripping your heart out and putting it on the table, because it's just the unknown and the wondering and the what ifs, and then it's the questions of, is he or she going to speak to someone else? Have they met someone else? What are they up to? But once you can get through the first couple of weeks of no contact, it genuinely does get so much easier. And then, because every single time their name pops up on your phone,
you get that racing heart, that anxiety, you feel sick, or the butterflies. Oh my God, it's awful.
Exactly. And then, or you will fall into a conversation with that person, and then you start, especially if you're the one that's been hurt, you start to question, oh, does he want me now? Or does she want me now? Oh, are we going to start getting back together? I wonder if he's going to ask to see me. And then the moment that it doesn't, and you feel disappointed, the heartbreak starts all over.
Yeah, and you start the healing. That's literally giving me goosebumps again. Like, that is so true. The healing process does start all over again. And for me, from experience, like, me and my ex ended on like pretty decent terms. So we was like, you know what, we'll stay in touch. But we've been no contact now for 6 weeks, and that's actually made me feel better. As much as I didn't want to have no contact with him, because I love him to pieces and we get on so well, it was just like constant heartache throughout the time that we were speaking. Although I would love to be friends, you know, like, and have that person in my life, it's just impossible. And I remember reading books and listening to podcasts at the time when we first broke up, and it was like, you need to do no contact, and I was just avoiding it. I was kind of just in denial. I was like, no, we'll be fine, like, we don't need to do that, we'll be able to kind of get through it. No.
And look how far you've come from that point. Like, it is, you can see it for your own self only once you start doing the no contact.
Yeah.
The first, like I say, the first couple of weeks of doing it is hell on earth.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult.
But once you can get past that point, the healing process is so much faster for you. Now, I don't say be no contact forever unless there's a reason for you to be, but it's just to get you out of that pure pain of, just the heartbreak, the literal heartbreak, because that's what it feels like.
Yeah, and once you actually get to a stage where you feel that you've healed and you feel that they no longer affect your life like they used to, the way that you could speak to them or see that they're with somebody new and be absolutely fine with that. Yes, maybe you can be friends then, but whilst you're still healing, like, it just does not work.
Not at all.
Not for anybody. I don't believe anyone that says so, because I thought I'd be that person, and no.
I thought I'd be that person. You just can't. You just need to put yourself as a priority for just this short period of time. And especially if you've ended on amicable terms. Mm-hmm. If you've ended on amicable terms, you don't want to do the no contact because you'll feel like you're being petty, or you're being... you're ignoring them for some reason, or you're not being friendly. It goes against what you two were as a relationship. But when you're that hurt, you just need to prioritize yourself and your feelings and set the boundary with them. Say to them, look, by the way, just for the time being, I need you to not speak to me. I'm going to not speak to you. And if I need to block you on everything, then I'm going to have to do so. But it's just to get me through this part.
And it is such an important part of your healing process, and that's the end of it. So what would you say to people if they've lost themselves, lost their self-worth, lost their self-confidence in a relationship, post-relationship?
So they're in a relationship, they've lost it, and then the relationship's now ended. Mm-hmm. Is you can rebuild it. It is about understanding where you lost it. And it won't just be that relationship. There will be times from when you were in the school playground all the way up, and there's little moments that you don't realise, but subconsciously they've all had an impact. And then this has been the final thing that you'll go, wow, I don't feel good enough. I'm so insecure. I don't like myself, blah, blah, blah. And you can hit your lowest lows at that point. But from there, the rebuild is the most rewarding, because from that point, you start to not only understand yourself, become self-aware of all of your triggers, love yourself in ways you've never loved yourself before. But because you understand and love yourself, it automatically gives you confidence. But you have to work through each insecurity one by one. And it's not that you can wake up and go, I'm not insecure ever again. No, that's me, I'm good. Like, it doesn't work like that. Your insecurities will still be triggered at some points of your life, but it's how you handle them. And that's when you realize how much growth you've had, is when you handle your triggers very differently to how you would have before.
I mean, I'll just give you a bit of a kind of background on what happened to me. So I was actually always a really confident person, and I had certain friends that'd be like, you're the bad bitch, like, you're so, like, confident on whatever. And then I completely lost myself in the relationship. I was no longer that person anymore. And then I've come out of it and I'm like, who even am I? Like, I don't have this bad bitch energy in me anymore that my friends used to see in me. I've lost my self-worth. I've lost my confidence. Like, I look at myself and I'm just like, you're not the person that you used to be.
And as sad as that may seem right now, you'll come out of it once you work on all of those different things and realise at what point you lost yourself and why. You'll come out of it a better version of yourself. So you might not be the bad bitch energy, but you'll be just the content, fulfilled and confident energy. Because sometimes the bad bitch energy is...
It's not all
it's
that.
It's a facade. Yeah, exactly.
Sure. No, I feel like I am coming out of it more... A better person, should I say.
Yeah.
And I am starting to find myself again. But I've had friends who lost themselves in the relationship because of the boyfriends, because they never gave them attention, or because they never told them they look nice. Your partner's got to tell you look nice as a female, like, or as a male, actually. If your partner doesn't tell you they love you, if your partner doesn't tell you that you look beautiful or whatever, you're going to go seek it somewhere else.
100%. And not just are you going to seek it somewhere else. It's like, well, if they don't see it in me,
then
how can I see it myself? So many people get lost in relationships. And a lot of the time, that is where people come to me for that. Because I have had some clients whilst they're in a relationship, and I think it works a lot better because you can have open communication with your partner about these things confidently, because you have someone there to hold you accountable to doing it. But at the same time, it is a lot of the time when women come out of relationships, it's like, I don't know how I'm going to put myself and be vulnerable in another relationship without bringing in past traumas unless I work on this.
Yeah, for sure. So I want to ask you a few questions about dating and a bit more exciting stuff. So what do you think to having sex on a first date?
So I've had many conversations with men about this. Because
it's going to be completely different, eh?
Yeah, because like obviously their viewpoint is, I feel like as women we judge ourselves if we sleep with someone on a first date.
Yeah.
And that is drummed into us because we shouldn't let it go too easy. Men will judge you or they'll ghost you and all of those things. My theory is on this. And I don't know if it's right or wrong, men tell me I'm wrong. If I am not feeling it in terms of I see a future with that person, but I feel that the sexual chemistry is there, then go for it.
Yeah.
If I see that I want to see this person as my future, or I want to see and develop this in some way, I hold off for a few. I want them to chase me a bit. I don't want to let it go so easy.
Because then they might question you, because that's what guys do. They judge. They can do what they want, you know. They don't get judged. They get praise. The counts are up, you know. But as females, it's like, well, she's like me. She's easy. How many times has she done that with someone else, kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, and I was having this conversation yesterday or the day before with one of my friends, and he was saying like, if the emotion's there for him and the sexual chemistry's there for him, he's not going to judge you if you sleep with him on a first date, because he likes you, and it's just, and in his opinion, and I've had a couple of friends like that, it's like, I would rather know if the sex is going to be great straight away than waste my time on 10 dates. But then I've also had other male friends who say, no, I do judge you on that, and I think that you must be doing that for anyone and everyone. So I just think, for me, I would just always hold off, unless there's a very rare occasion.
Yeah, just to be on the safe side.
Absolutely.
And what are your thoughts on dating apps, websites, anything like that?
Again, I'm going to give a very personal view. Yeah. So for me personally, I do not like being on them. Just because I need that connection before I go, or that introduction before I go. So I just find dating apps very like blasé, boring. But I literally had a client last night talking about this, because she is in a small town. She works from home. She goes to the same gym that she's been going to for years. Like she's older now, so her friends are all married with children. Like they don't go out as often. So she felt lost. And so I said, you need to get on the dating apps, but you need to approach them differently. Go on there with a different mindset. Be a bit more open, because we're so judgmental on 5 pictures. Yeah. And that's why I don't like dating apps, because I'm pretty sure if I probably saw some of my exes on a dating app, I'm not going to go for them. But in person, you see past that you don't like their shoes, or that their hair's a certain way. So
I guess people post the best pictures of themselves as well, mainly, and half of them are edited, so I wouldn't even like believe what I see on there.
Exactly. So for me as a person, no, I don't rate them. But I think if you're in circumstances like my client, what else are you meant to do? How else are you meant to meet someone? So I just think they are there. They're good for certain avenues, and I know people that have met people on dating apps and had great relationships. But a lot of the time, I do just think people are on there for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, for sure. And again, I'm probably going to get shot for this, but guys go on there for a reason. I mean, girls probably do as well, you know. 110%, they go on there for a reason, and that's to find someone just for a one-night stand, someone to sleep with because they're bored. But I have had 2 friends who have met their now husbands, and I've got kids with them through Tinder. in lockdown.
Exactly. And so you've just got to filter out for every 50 that's on there for the wrong reasons, there'll be 2 that are on there for the right.
And I mean, people obviously are, people that say that they're not looking for physical attraction, like you've got to be attracted to someone in a physical way, at least a little bit. But for me personally, like if you are the most beautiful human on planet Earth, but you have no personality, you are not attracted to me at all.
Oh, you instantly become ugly.
Yeah, literally, like this is why I need to meet someone in person. I need to see your vibe, I need to see your energy, I need to see if I can bounce off you, if you're funny, and if you're good looking, yeah, amazing, like that's a bonus, you know. But I could not judge someone and just be like, oh yeah, I like him off the pictures.
Exactly, and that's why I think we need to be a bit less judgmental with the people that we choose on dating apps if you're going to go on them, because you actually don't know that person by 5 photos or 6 photos. But however, I'm just more for the authentic, let's introduce that kind of...
The old school way, you know, when you go somewhere and you meet someone in the places that you actually enjoy, because I find that a lot of guys and girls will go, oh, let's go on a night out and meet someone. You're not going to find your future husband, your future wife in a nightclub. Like, personally, that's what I think. Like, if you want to find somebody that aligns with your life and aligns with what you do, you go to places that you would normally go. For me, it would be the gym, it would be the cafe, it would be the beach, you know, somewhere that person's going to have similar interests to you as well.
100% I agree on that. The only thing with the gym is, and I've spoke to many, many men about this, is they don't like approaching women in the gym, because you're in there in the zone, you're probably sweaty, you're not feeling your best, and then you get approached by a man.
I mean, I'd be quite flattered.
Love it. Men, do it more often, as long as I'm not mid-set and like
whilst
in the
I'm mid-squat.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Literally, because that has happened to me before, and I'm like, just pick your time.
Yeah.
Wait 2 more minutes.
Wait till I'm rested.
Yeah.
But that's how I met my ex. We actually met in the gym, and I was on the spin bike. I hate spin, and I was so sweaty. I looked awful, like literally like I'd just got out of the shower. And he was like, oh, she's really good looking. Well, obviously, once we got together, that's what he said to me. And I was just like, if you see me at my worst, then and you like me like this, I'm here for it. Like, I love you just for that alone.
Exactly. And I've been on dates from people from the gym. And when you actually go outside of the gym, it's like, well, I'm at least 10% better than what I was in there. You've seen me at my worst.
Yeah. So ladies, go to the gym and find a guy there.
Approach us in the gym. We like it. I want somebody that goes to the gym, and I want somebody that goes to the gym kind of at the same time as me. I'm a morning early bird.
Exactly. And if you go in the morning, you're going to find somebody that aligns with that as well. 10%.
But they don't really come over.
I mean, I feel like Dubai's a little bit different.
Depending on the gym you go to.
Yeah, I feel like some people are very ballsy here.
Yeah, definitely.
A lot more so than the UK, I would say.
100%. Yeah, I agree. But I think on speaking to men out here, men back home, they just don't like approaching women in the gym because they just feel like that you're doing your own thing. Why should we encroach on that?
No, come in. Come chat to me. Come.
No problem. Just
come.
Not mid-set. Like,
not mid-squat.
Definitely not.
So what are your thoughts on situationships?
Get out of them. Honestly, situationships are the one thing that cause you the most pain. They cause you the most confusion. They cause you to feel like you're in love with someone because it's all this push-pull factor that is not genuine authenticity, and you don't actually get to know that person, or you start to ignore the things that you would normally say, no, I don't want to put up with that, I will not accept that, because you're trying to chase this person to make it official with you. And if it's just a couple of months and then they go, right, okay, no, I want this or I don't want this, that's okay. I'm not talking like 6 weeks in, end your situationship. You're in the seeing stage. But if you are in a prolonged situationship where you're feeling hurt, confused, wanting to have that what are we chat, but still a bit unsure of how they're going to take it and if they're going to run away, then remove yourself from that situation because you're going to get hurt.
I've got a prime example of this, not for me, with one of my closest friends. She got out of a 13-year relationship and then started dating another guy. and she must have been dating him for about a year, and she was just chasing this relationship because he was like, oh, I'm not just quite ready, let's just, take it slow. And then he was like, oh, well, maybe we can get into a relationship. And I was like, listen, you cannot be in this any longer because he's leading you on. And what do you know, a year down the line, he was like, no, I don't want a relationship. I says, you've just been chasing this for so long, and now you're hurt. She's hurt more so than her last relationship.
Yeah, absolutely, and that always happens.
Rejection.
It's the rejection, and it's the dangling of the carrot. And you feel like you're more in love with this person than you've ever been in love with anyone else because they're not showing you.
It's the chase.
Yeah, exactly. It's the push-pull factor. But what I will say is what hurts even more is if they then end this situationship and that person you were in a situationship with then goes and gets in a relationship, because it happens quite often.
Yep. And that will hurt a lot.
It kills women, because then you feel like, well, why wasn't I good enough?
Yeah.
What's wrong with me? If he can settle down so quickly when he said he wasn't sure if he wanted a relationship, it must be me. But it's not you. It's just circumstance, timing, mindset or mind frame of that guy, and to see how far he can push you.
Which is crazy to think that people behave this way, but they do. So what can people do if they struggle being single, if they don't know what to do in the transitioning stage?
Find the things that you love to do. There will be things that you've been wanting to do in your life that you haven't, because you've been so settled in your relationship, or you don't want to push yourself outside of your comfort zone. But I think you need to fulfill yourself, fill your own cup, because then you're more attractive to people. And don't then, as soon as you do get into a relationship or start dating someone, ignore everything else that you've been doing that makes you feel fulfilled. But being single is the best time. You can literally grow in every avenue of your life that you decide you want to, because you have no one holding you back, no distractions. If you want to move country, you can. You've got no one to say, no, I don't really want to do that.
You've got the freedom to do whatever you want.
Freedom to do what you want. You can, if you want to go straight in and focus in on the gym and fixate on feeling good in yourself in terms of bodily shape, then you can have the time to do that, because you're not going, oh, should we get a takeaway tonight, babe? Or, oh, should we sit in and, I don't know.
Focus on the glow up.
Focus on the glow up, but
have a purpose.
But the glow up is for yourself, not because you are trying to prove to your ex that you are better now. It is literally for yourself, and if you can feel fulfilled in other ways. If you're not liking your job, I'm not saying quit your job, do not do that. But what I am saying is figure out the things that you've been putting off to do. Like, is there something else that you want to learn to go into? Do it on the side, or look at the training courses you need to go on to then propel your career in some way.
For sure. And I think for me, that was starting the podcast. It was something that I've always wanted to do. And then I thought, you know what? I've got more time now than ever, because I'm not having to, this is going to sound really wrong, but attend to anyone else, or I've got more time for myself because I'm not doing things for someone else as well, which I'm not saying is a bad thing in a relationship, but you have naturally more time spare on your hands. So I was like, you know what, I'll start a podcast, and that gives me a focus and something to enjoy and concentrate on.
Mm-hmm. And so many people when they are in relationships, get consumed by what their partner likes and wants to do, and doesn't actually focus on what they want. So then your needs and wants in a relationship get put to the side. So if you feel that way and you feel that you did that, go put your needs back into life again. Stop dwelling and start focusing on we have one life that is very, very short. So go and get the life that you want, because you can.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more, because you're going to waste your time. Eventually, you'll end up wasting your time of wait, I could have done all this and I never.
Exactly.
So what would your advice be for people who are emotionally unavailable post a relationship?
That means that you've just buried all of your emotions to then become this person that you don't even know who you are. And it can feel like you feel nothing and everything. You can just say, I'm fine. You don't feel happy, you don't feel sad, you don't feel excited, you don't feel nervous.
You're just numb.
And so you really need to figure out and understand what point you buried your emotions. What was that? And then from there, start to acknowledge if you should feel a certain way and you haven't, or if you are feeling a certain way and you start to embrace it. So there could be something in your life, like, I don't know, you started a podcast. How did you feel after that? If you were emotionally unavailable, you're feeling numb. You starting a podcast, coming out of that, you should feel on a high. Yeah. So then recognizing that, noticing it. And if you're emotionally unavailable, please don't get into a relationship. Please just really trying to understand your emotions. Reach out to someone.
It's not fair on the other person if you're emotionally unavailable, because you're hurting them. And then you could cause them quite a lot of trauma as well.
And to be honest, you'll end up becoming an avoidant. Or a fearful avoidant, because you're just so worried about putting yourself back out there again. And yes, being hurt isn't nice, but to feel nothing for the rest of your life is also not nice. And it's not nice for if you are planning on getting into a relationship or into the dating stages, because you're not being authentic and you are setting that person up to get hurt. Because if they walk out of your life, you're still feeling numb.
It's still the same way that you were before.
And that might sound great, because you can be like, well, I don't care. But actually, you don't then care about anything in your life. And that's where you'll end up feeling kind of depressed in the end.
Yep. And that's what I seen in my ex-partners. Like, they were just numb to everything. Whilst I went through and felt the pain and felt the emotions, they were just numb to absolutely everything.
Yeah, but is that them telling themselves that?
I think so. And I think, as we spoke about in the beginning, males don't want to admit it or don't tend to admit it. Whereas as females, we will hold our hands up and say, we feel this way.
We do, but there is women out there that don't, and they can feel nothing. And I think I even had a client come to me not that long ago. We've just finished, actually. And it was because she was this person. I feel fine. Everything in her life was fine. She'd been through so much, but everything was fine.
She just became numb to everything.
So she came to me a bit confused as to why she was even coming to me, because obviously she was plodding along in life fine. But actually, when we got down to figuring it all out, and then one day she said she started seeing someone new and she was excited, and she's like, I've never felt this before. And then it was one day she felt really sad and she rang me and she was like, I can't stop crying, Ellie, and I feel like it's your fault.
I couldn't feel emotions before, and now I'm crying.
Yeah, she's like, why am I crying? And I was like, what happened? And then she started telling me. I said, well, that's a reason to cry. You are allowed to feel sad. But when you're emotionally unavailable, I probably, back years and years and years ago, nothing bothered me. Nothing fazed me. Yeah. Nothing excited me. I wasn't emotionally unavailable. I don't know, maybe I was actually upon reflection. But it was, yeah, like I could watch a sad film and not shed a tear.
I went through a stage like that as well, and I think that term gets thrown about loosely as well, because what people think is emotionally available actually isn't as well.
Exactly, and I think it is all about just getting in touch with your emotions and becoming vulnerable. I think the moment, like, I will always talk about this, like, I lived with one of my best friends over here, and she was very much in touch with her emotions, and she used to say to me, Ellie, you're feeling sad, like, you're going through a lot, just cry. And I'd be like, I don't know how. And then she, like, slowly, like, started to talk me through to it, and now I actually have to give her a lot of the credit as to how I started to feel my emotions.
It's about having that emotional intelligence that not everyone has.
Most people don't, because there's a level of emotional intelligence, and a lot of people don't. But if you can have that, which I feel like over time, I most definitely do, and I think doing obviously what I do helps. Of course it helps, and it helps you to understand and empathise. But I've always been empathetic, but I just really struggled with showing my emotions.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, you've got a great job, and it must be very rewarding, like, seeing people and helping people. And I mean, you've helped me, like, we've had brief chats here and there, and you've helped me a lot. And it just goes to show how you actually going through this yourself in the past, you are now able to help other women. And I'm sure this podcast will help so many women as well throughout this whole episode, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to any of the listeners that are in a place where they are really hurting, just know, and I hate this saying because I remember when I was hurting that much and someone used to say to me, time's the biggest healer. Well, I want that time right now. Like I want to wake up and the time be there because I'm fed up of feeling like this. But time does really, really help. But also make sure you're putting the right practices in place to get you through.
Don't rush it.
Don't rush it. Feel everything you've got to feel, but also make sure you're working on it.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. And I mean, I'm in the process of doing that. I've had some help from yourself as well, so I'll be incorporating that. But thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. So for anyone that wants to get in touch, get coaching with yourself, where can they find you?
Instagram is probably best, and it's @10 dot __. I wish that I had purchased at the time. Someone had already had @10 when I set it up, but anyways, so that. I have my website where you can book a free 30-minute coaching call with me, and there's no obligation to go forward with anything. It's just really there to get advice and to see how I can help you. And yeah, that's mainly it, the 2 portals really.
Amazing. I'll tag everything in the show notes anyway, but thank you so much, Ellie, for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.